Alright everybody, we are continuing on with our Batman comic journey with Batman Legends of the Dark Knight Shaman Part 1 of 5 by O'Neill, Hannigan, and Bie. We get an opening scene of someone traveling with a Mr. Doggett, who they then point out is the best tracker and bounty hunter that money can buy. They're trying to track down somebody named Thomas Woodley. I don't know who that is, but I'm excited to find out. All of a sudden, this legendary tracker gets headshot out of nowhere. I guess the hunter has become the prey. We then find out who the other character is. It's Bruce Wayne as he dives into the cave to get out of the view of the shooter. It seems like Bruce hired this legendary tracker so that he could study him along the way and become a better tracker himself, right? Always trying to improve his skill set. The killer, high up on the mountaintop, taunts Bruce and says, "You're next!" The killer, Thomas Woodley, thinks that he got the jump on Bruce, but he don't know who he's messing with. Bruce set up his parka as a decoy as he hung over the edge in wait. A beautiful ambush as Bruce jumps up and stabs Woodley in the back of the calf with a nice pick. They trade blows back and forth with each other until Bruce takes a solid punch from the top mount. Bruce was shocked by how much power Woodley could generate from his back. This causes Bruce to momentarily black out as Woodley comes in for the kill, but Bruce had just enough in him to kick him off. This kick causes Woodley to fly over the edge, and as he scrabbles to grab onto something, all he can do is grab Bruce's parka and gear, and he pulls it over the edge with him, taking that gear with him as he falls from the sheer mountainside. But the cool thing is, it says he doesn't even let out a scream. Bruce stands there for a moment in deep thought, realizing that it's more than minus 30 below, he has no food or supplies, he is at least a day away from town, and to make matters worse, a storm is about to hit. Damn, Bruce got himself in a situation now, and you gotta keep in mind that this is a very young Bruce, so he doesn't have the big skill set that we know that Batman has later on. What a situation, man. It can't be any worse, could it? Bruce is wandering the frigid mountaintop, contemplating whether he should turn to prayer or faith, but he points out that he doesn't believe in that anymore, so he's not about to start that again. Instead, he's just focusing on keep moving, but he begins to tire more and more. Bruce fought it for as long as he possibly could. It gets to the point where he can't even think straight, and then he just face plants into the snow. Now, whether dreaming or hallucinating, I'm not sure at this point, as an evil snowman shoots and kills Bruce's parents, causing them to shatter like ice, leaving him cold and all alone once again. I love how this scene just combined the two most tragic elements of Bruce's life, right? The death of his parents and his current possible death here now in the snowbank. He combines two of them and merges together in this kind of cool way, right? I like it. We then get Bruce's perspective as he's staring up at a bunch of unfamiliar faces, wondering if this is a dream. And why is he seeing a giant bat-like figure staring down at him? But the bat-like figure begins to speak to him. The giant bat begins to tell him a story as we cut to a tale of a dying raven inflicted with a ghost sickness. His friend the bat did not want him to die and just wanted to help. The raven said the only way you can help is to blow away the sickness. The bat stated that he's only a rodent, that's not possible. Then the raven says, well, if you do not, I will die. The bat was determined to not let his friend die, so he stretched his fingers so much that the skin between them pulled to fill the gaps. Using his newly formed wings, he blew the sickness away, and was from that day forward no longer a ground animal, but rather one that could fly. I like old myths and legends like this that not necessarily try to tell you how things were created or how it all went down, but rather just to try to give you a nice life lesson in the story, right? Like, what I took away from this is like nothing is impossible, and you can achieve great things through love or friendship if you're pushed to the limit. Bruce wakes up to the sight of a beautiful woman who explains that her and her family were out checking their traps when they heard the gunshot, and that's when they found him cold and frigid in the snow. By the time they found him, he was very much near death and suffering from pneumonia. Bruce was like, I guess I owe you my life. To which the woman replied that it wasn't her. It was because of her grandfather, the tribal shaman medicine man. This got me stoked. I'm guessing this is where the shaman character comes into it based on the title of the comic. At this point, I'm wondering, is Bruce going to get taught the ancient ways of shamanism or something along that lines? I'm not too sure, but either way, let's keep going. About a week passes by and Bruce is finally ready to head back to civilization. The woman accompanies him along the way. During the walk, she states that her grandfather has a favor to ask. Bruce's immediate response is, of course, I'll give anything that money can buy. But of course, the shaman doesn't care about money. Instead, what he requests is for Bruce to keep the story of the bat and the raven, as well as the whole ritual process and the mask, a secret, as Bruce is the only outsider to have ever witnessed it. The lady goes on to explain that it was the ritual that healed Bruce and was able to make him recover from near death. Bruce was very skeptical and said, no, it wasn't that. It was just the fact that you brought me back into a warm environment where my natural body defenses could take over and heal me back. But, you know, he just doesn't believe in any of that shamanism. But the woman states, and she's very serious, that no, it was the ritual that saved your life, Bruce, and nothing else. Bruce invites the woman to come join him in Gotham, but of course she declines, and she just gives him a nice touch on the cheek, and then they part ways. What was that about? A nice little touch on the cheek? Yeah? Well, is that foreshadowing some kind of relationship coming in here? I don't know. Did they form a nice bond after nursing him back to health? We'll see. Bruce arrived back home and is greeted by Alfred. His shipment of books on criminology arrived, which he glances through, and I'm sure he'll study more in the future. And I love how they show the little details like this, because it lets us know piece by piece on how Bruce is building up his skill set that we know that Batman has in the future. The clothing that he was given by the shaman, he hands it to Alfred. Alfred wants to throw it away, but Bruce says, no, keep that, wash it. So he really wants to hold on to it. It's great that Bruce is keeping it because of his time that he spent with the shaman. He'll be able to reflect and remember that, and I'm sure he learned a lot of valuable lessons from it. Bruce then leaves the house for the first time to go fight crime, but Alfred gives him a stern warning, knowing that this has been brewing within Bruce for over 12 years, and he just wants Bruce to be careful. We then get the awesome flashback of everything that he did during the Year One series, and I love how they recapped it. Now, I started this channel with the Batman Year One, so I'll have a link at the end of this video in case you missed it. As Bruce sits in his chair trying to decide his future, we get to see a little bit more detail that wasn't shown in the Year One series. Bruce is actually getting a vision of the same shaman with the bat mask that brought him back to life. We pick it up the next day as Bruce is pumping iron, as Alfred points out that Bruce has begun to fund research into ballistics, bombs, nerve gas, assassination techniques, and so much more. If anyone ever links all this research back to Bruce, they're going to think that he's like a friggin' terrorist or something. Bruce also gets Alfred to set up a meeting with a Dr. Madison Spurlock about the Indians of northern Alaska. At this point, I'm wondering, what's that about? Like, is he just trying to get more information on the shamanistic ways or their history or something like that? But either way, let's just keep going. We then get a full page of Batman suiting up for the first time. They could have quickly cut to him being in full uniform, like they did in Year One, but nope. Panel by panel, you get the emphasis on what this means. We then jump to Batman, who's going to go stake out a clinic that has been robbed 3 times this month alone, and sure enough, there's trouble. The clinic has no more drugs or money to take because they've robbed it so many times this month alone. This causes the 3 thugs to get very frustrated and start to act out. They grab one of the sick patients and say that since you don't have anything to give us, then we're going to take this patient, and then we're going to have some fun. The doctor pleads with them to stop and that the patient is pregnant, to which they reply, that's okay, we ain't got nothing against mamas. And to make matters worse, they slap the doctor around for good measure. Frig sakes, what a bunch of low-life scum with no respect for anybody, right? Like, man, I can't wait for friggin' Batman to show up and kick their ass. We then get this badass scene that takes his time that shows how good Batman is at putting the fear in people. Batman says, you have a choice. You can crawl to the doctor and ask forgiveness, or I will hurt you. Oh, buddy, there's nothing cooler than when Batman uses fear as his ally, am I right? However, the thugs are not intimidated and they lunge forward. Unlike what happened in Year One, Batman doesn't hesitate this time, he just gets in there and lays the smackdown. The intimidation factor for Batman is not in effect yet, like this early in his career. It's the first night of him wearing the costume, so he hasn't had time to build up a reputation. But soon Gotham will fear the Bat. The thug is holding the patient hostage with a gun to her head, saying he's going to shoot her unless Batman backs off, to which Batman replies, why do you think I care? Well, it seemed to work. The thug dropped the girl and opens fire into a dark alleyway to hit Batman. He quickly runs out of ammo and has no idea where Batman disappeared to. I've always liked Batman's ability just to kind of vanish in plain sight, and, you know, it kind of makes realistic sense when you're wearing all black in a dark, shady alleyway, right? The next page has Batman swooping down on a befuddled thug below. Is there more of an iconic image of Batman than this, than the silhouette of a cape above a criminal like that? Batman rushes over to the other punk, slams him against the wall, and continues to put the fear in him. He wants the punk to give the streets a message. Everyone breaking the law in Gotham is finished. Tell them the streets belong to the Batman. And so the legendary reputation of the Batman in Gotham begins, right? Ooh, buddy. I wonder how many more issues before we get to see that in full swing. We then see the Doctor asking if all of that violence was necessary. To which Batman states that Gotham is full of the sick. You treat the sick your way, I'll treat them my way. What a badass line. That's some good writing right there, and I'm always a sucker for a good quote like that. I love it. And just right when you think everything is done and we got a nice happy ending, nope. The patient appears to be in total shock and fearful of the sight of Batman. She yells, Chubala, as she stabs herself through the heart with the knife that she found on the ground. What? What? Then it pans to Batman with his cold expression just to say, But why? Whoa, okay, I need some answers. Like, is that lady haunted by bats in her dreams or nightmares, or is there something more here? I rate this issue's artwork a 3 out of 5. It was decent with the shamanistic vibe, but I do feel that it could have had a little more detail in certain areas. I rate this issue's story a 4 out of 5. It did a great job of being a part 1 in a series and setting the foundation for a great story that I know is going to come. My favorite panel in this gotta be just the scene of Batman jumping down onto the thug in the alleyway because it's such an iconic scene. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share if you enjoy the content and you want to help this channel grow. If you want more Batman content, click on one of the links on the screen. I'll see you there.